So, do we all agree at this point that Joy Boy must be Davy D. Jones? Davy D. Jones, the so-called wicked pirate who was cursed by the devil, drowning to the bottom of the seas alongside his treasure. Davy D. Jones, the legend whose memory sparked the long pirate tradition of staking it all, your crew, your ship, your flag, all for the sake of the greater pirate glory. Davy D. Jones, the man whose name still holds so much weight centuries later. Could this Davy D. Jones be the very same person as Joy Boy? And if so, what does that mean for the rest of the mystery still left in the series? The name and location of the ancient kingdom, why the other kingdoms found Joy Boy to be such a threat, why Joy Boy and his descendants, the Davy D line, had to be exterminated. If we scratch beyond the surface, we may have the answers already. And I know that we have already discussed briefly this idea that Joy Boy and Davy D. Jones may actually be the same person before, but I think it's time for a fuller, complete deep dive because the implications of this could be huge and tie together everything we thought we knew about the Void Century mystery. And to start, we have to quickly establish why this might be true, why Davy D. Jones may indeed be Joy Boy himself. Most fans will probably remember being first introduced to Davy Jones during the Long Ring Longland arc, but Davy Jones was actually introduced as early as Syrup Village. In chapter 33, Butchie boasts that the Nyaban brothers have sent many rival pirates to go and see Davy Jones, i.e. they have sent many pirates to their deaths. And I had never caught this detail before, but that may be because this is only the translation as per the official volume release, at least in English. As far as I can tell, the Japanese simply has them stating that they have sunk many pirates to the seafloor. But I do find this fascinating because knowing the incredible foresight that Oda has, I do find it compelling that he may have been planning for Davy D. Jones as early as the Romance Dawn saga, especially if Davy D. Jones was going to be such a central figure to the series as Joy Boy himself. By the way, if you didn't know that Davy Jones was introduced or was mentioned as early as chapter 33, then you have to subscribe as part of our Davy back fight or else risk losing your pirate's pride. Otherwise, for everyone else not reading the English Viz translation, this legendary pirate was first officially mentioned in the series all the way back in chapter 306 via our introduction to the Davy back fight, an intense pirate game which is said to have originated from Hachinosu, aka Pirate Island, whereby crews stake their own nakama and their pirate pride on the line. Any pirate who does not adhere to the spirit of the games is seen as a disgrace to the pirate tradition and will thus be given as tribute to Davy Jones. And Robin explains that Davy Jones was cursed by a demon and now lives on the deep sea floor, owning all sunken ships or treasure that makes its way underwater to Davy Jones's locker. And Oda confirms in SBS Volume 38 that his creation of Davy Jones is inspired by the real-life pirate legend, a greedy pirate who was cursed by the devil to live on the seafloor for hoarding even his own crewmates' treasures. And I have discussed the other implications of the real-life myth of Davy Jones and the connections we can make in the world of One Piece, but for the purposes of today's discussion, this idea that Davy D. Jones was cursed by the devil immediately sets off bells. While the celestial dragons like to call themselves gods, presiding in the so-called Holy Land, protected by the Holy Knights, we know that this is all artificial. The celestial dragons actually dispossessed the real gods, the Lunarians who lived atop the Red Line, whereas depictions of Imu and the Gorosei have heavily suggested that they are the real devils. The Gorosei's seemingly mythical Zoan forms are all based on demon beasts, yokai from East Asian culture, while Imu seems to be able to actually transform into a devil with demonic powers. So the legend that Davy Jones was cursed by the devil to live on the seafloor, I can't help but read that as anything other than Davy Jones was sent to the bottom of the ocean by Imu. Or perhaps in other words, Imu killed Davy Jones. In which case, who would Imu so badly want to kill? Well, lots of people probably, but most of all, Joy Boy. And if Davy Jones is the figure that pirates base the long tradition of the Davy back fight on, then again, who else would be such an important figure to the pirate tradition other than Joy Boy, whom we know to be the world's first pirate? It makes sense that the first pirate in the world is the one that has become the inspiration, the source for the pirate games, right? And if Davy D. Jones really is Joy Boy, it could explain so much of what we've seen recently. It could be the reason why Rox reveals himself to be a Davy Jones worshipper, a Davy Jones follower when he encounters Imu. Because you would only worship someone, you would only follow someone who has that legendary status. Someone like Joyboy. To me, this reads very much like soldiers who are ready to follow their leader into battle, trusting in his visions, his goals and plans. That could be the reason why the Davy D clan are hunted so vigorously by the world government. It seems that's the reason why God Valley was chosen to be the next victim of the hunting games, because Garling may have discovered the existence of some of the Davy D members there. In the words of the Celestial Dragons themselves, the Davy D members are the most hated, the most feared. It's the response of a people who have been indoctrinated to hate the Davy D clan their entire lives, like some sort of intense propaganda that the Celestial Dragons are fed from birth to hate the Davy D clan who are related to Joyboy, the man that they almost could not beat, the leader of the ancient kingdom that they all rose to try and defeat 900 years ago. Interestingly, the Celestial Dragons have a violent reaction and clearly know who the Davy D are, even though the world government seems to have tried to make the rest of the world try to forget about their existence. Rox says in chapter 1159 that the world government has long tried to cover up the Davy D name, forcing them to take root in the underworld instead. It's very indicative that even a man like Rox, who shows no fear, no hesitation usually, would try to hide his true name, not even able to reveal it to his own crew. You would only be that concerned because of what the Davy D name represents. They're not just any members of the D clan, they are the descendants of Joyboy. And then perhaps the biggest clue of all. In chapter 1159, it's also announced that the Davy D clan have been missing to at least the world government for 800 years. 800 years, perfectly lining up with the end of the Void Century. After Joyboy's defeat at the hands of the 20 Kingdoms, the rest of his family went underground. At this point, the idea that Davy D. Jones could in fact be Joyboy feels almost too obvious for me. And I just want to give huge flowers to Roronoa Luffy Zoro, because I started searching what the interwebs were saying about this topic, and this Reddit post caught my eye because it's dated 4 years ago. I mean, that is some serious advanced observation, Haki. And maybe sending props is too soon because it hasn't been actually confirmed in series or yet. But to me, this feels just almost confirmed. But you know what? Let me know whether you agree and whether you're convinced by leaving a comment below. Also, if you have enjoyed the discussion so far, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. We love to discuss One Piece here at the Joy Fleet, and we're always looking for more Nakama to join us. In fact, we're really hoping to get to 100,000 crewmates and would love to have you on board. So surely by now you are as convinced as I am that Davy D. Jones is indeed Joyboy. Because now we're going to explore the huge implications this has. Joyboy being one of, if not the leading figure of the Davy D families, a family that has also given birth to the likes of Zebek and Teach, may be an indicator of what Joyboy himself was like. Rather than a straight up hero or savior, he was probably a lot more wild and dangerous, maybe even threatening. Remember what Rayleigh told the Straw Hats? He said that when they find the One Piece, they will have to make their own minds about the truth. Or when Vegapunk was unable to assess whether Joyboy was right or wrong, whether he was good or bad for his actions during the Void Century War, all pointing to the fact that Joyboy may not have been a true stand-up guy, but he also wasn't a straight-up villain either, in much the same way that Nika is remembered for two very contrasting qualities: Nika the Liberator, Nika the Destroyer. Joyboy, or Davy D. Jones, likely demonstrated that same duality, which then does pose interesting possibilities as to why the Void Century War began. Was Joyboy, similar to Rox and Blackbeard, very power-hungry, brutal and violent in his pursuit to be king of the world? Or are Rox and Blackbeard the way that they are because of generations of trauma, years of having to live in hiding because of the persecution that the Davy D family faced? I have to say, my assumption after the Egghead Island arc was that the creation or the origins of Devil Fruits had a lot to do with why the Void Century War began, with the reveal of the ancient technology that's actually not so ancient at all, all, I certainly started thinking that it's the ancient kingdom where Joy Boy hails from that developed the devil fruits, giving them extraordinary strengths that threatened their neighboring kingdoms. That's what sparked the conflict. In fact, I would imagine that Joy Boy was the original user of the Nika devil fruit, which the ancient kingdom created. Joy Boy wanted the powers of the Nika god for himself. After all, the fact that Joy Boy did have Nika-like abilities has been confirmed by Vegapunk. And we have seen from the Elba flashback that Rox has been chasing two specific devil fruits, one of which is most likely the Hito no Mi model Nika, because in chapter 1156, Rox states that one of the devil fruits that he's after is most likely at Elbaf, and we do know that there is a legendary devil fruit that has been passed down the Elbafian royal family for generations, that devil fruit most likely being the Nika devil fruit, and we have had that discussion already, which you can watch here. I do wonder whether the second devil fruit that Rox was after was the one that Teach also sought, the Yami Yami no Mi that was the sole reason why Teach joined the Whitebeard pirates in the first place. And I have also discussed how I think that the Yami Yami no Mi may actually be another special devil fruit, one with further powers much like Luffy's so-called Gomu Gomu no Mi, where the devil fruit is actually not at all what it seems. And if that's the reason why the Void Century War began, why the 20 kingdoms allied themselves to defeat the Ancient Kingdom, then where is the Ancient Kingdom now? What happened to it? Because I've also been thinking that if Davy Jones is Joy Boy, then this could mean that the Ancient Kingdom is actually Hachinosu. We already know that Hachinosu is where the Davy back fight originated, which would make sense if that's because Hachinosu is also where Joy Boy is from. Again, Joy Boy is known as the world's first pirate, whereas Hachinosu is known as Pirate Island. And perhaps it got that name because it was the island that gave birth to the world's very first pirate. Because I have to say, for an island named Pirate Island or known as Pirate Island, it seems like prior to the arrival of the Rocks pirates, it wasn't necessarily populated by that many pirates. In chapter 1155, when they're talking about Fullerled, it's simply said that it's full of exiles and hardened criminals that can't be contained in their own kingdoms. And although those criminals could very well be pirates, if that was the case, why not simply use that terminology? Why not say that the island is full of hardened pirates? To me, the way that Oda has skirted around it makes it actually feel like that's not the case, especially with the existence of Impel Down. The most hardened criminals that are pirates would also usually be held there, no? The way I read it, it seems like Pirate Island might have once been full of pirates, but in the more recent past, before Rocks arrived, was full of inhabitants that weren't necessarily pirates. Or perhaps even more convincingly, think back to the Ohara flashback. Professor Clover was shot just before he could reveal the name of the Ancient Kingdom. And why would the world government care so much, so deeply about the revelation of the kingdom's name, unless it was a name that people could recognize? Think about it. If Professor Clover announced the name that had been forgotten to history, a name that no one else had heard of or remembered, I don't think that that would cause as much concern. I mean, sure, the world government probably would still want to prevent the name from getting out, to prevent others from being inspired to become scholars and archaeologists to search for other ancient references to this mysterious kingdom, all valid points, but I think the more compelling and the more likely scenario is that the most direct threat that the world government would want to prevent is if the name of the Ancient Kingdom is a name that the world already knows of. And that name is Pirate Island or Hachinosu. And then think about the more recent reveal. The fact that a large gold deposit was found at Hachinosu, that could be a further clue about the island's origins. That gold may be the remnants of the Ancient Kingdom's treasures. After all, what other locations have been explicitly tied back to gold? Shandora, the City of Gold, and Wano, which used to be known as the Country of Gold hundreds of years ago. Both islands being closely tied to Joy Boy as his close allies. And while it seems like Blackbeard may have chosen Hachinosu as his base because of its connection to his father, the fact that this was where the Rocks Pirates set up their base, as well as potentially to get revenge on Wang Zi, who has been now revealed to be the Rocks Pirates' rat. But I also think that a part of the reason is because Blackbeard knows the secrets tied to Hachinosu. Blackbeard generally seems to have a lot of knowledge about the world's secrets and histories. It's possible he already knows that Hachinosu is the Ancient Kingdom, and potentially knows of more than just the gold that lies deep underground. Who knows, perhaps there's further ancient technology that can be dug up and uncovered. We did just see Lafitte at Umit's shipping grounds. This could all be a part of Blackbeard's grand plan. Anyways, that's my drilling into the Joy Boy Davy D connection done, for now at least. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below. If you enjoyed today's discussion, please like and share the video. Also, please do subscribe to help us get to 100,000 subscribers. In return, I'll make sure to fill you up with lots of One Piece content. You can also help support the channel further by becoming a Patreon or channel member like these wonderful people. But as always, thank you for listening to another one of my crazy One Piece ramblings. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.